So it's me again. Apparently we're gonna fight jail time in the near future because I don't know how to control my mouth. And so I'm like sitting here watching TV and stuff like that, and somebody got like, there was somebody who was like born in Yale, like it's a hospital or something like that, and she went back as being a janitor, and now she's got accepted to be a doctor, and she got like really excited and stuff like that, and I was like, good for her, you know. But some people want to just be a janitor and they don't want to be doctors, you know, and so they want to go back and that's it, you know. They don't want to like go back and go to school, you know. They're like, I'm okay with being a janitor at this place, you know, as long as I work for you guys, you know. I don't really care, you know, as long as I'm an employee, you know. And so and then my like little sensor thing was like trying to like flip on me, and as in it wasn't about DigiKey, it was technically about FedEx, and I quit FedEx. I really, really did. But they follow you, you know, and then, but when it flipped, and they're like, managers are the ones who got fired, and I'm just like, oh, and I'm just like, people need to learn about payless, like, societies, because I was like working someplace and they used to scream on how they did not get paid, and I'm just like, because you do not work there. Like, I think they should try to change the locks, you know, like the code to get in, you know. And that was something that I used to talk to upper management at FedEx, you know, because they always hung out with me, always, mostly through like eyes, but they always hung out with me. And so they're like, we'll get you back, and I'm just like, I do not want to go back to FedEx. I've been saying this for years, like, you guys promise back in 2022 that you guys will go to ground and Express will close, and it's like, and so like, if I go back to FedEx, you don't get benefit. You are an independent contractor, you know. You can own a like route, you can own routes, you will be like in charge of your like own little company, you know, kind of thing like that. But you're not actually an employee of FedEx. So like, technically when I quit, in my mind, like, I had like sadness because I was there for so many years, and shock because I personally wanted to choose, and I was kind of pushed into it, and like, I fought it for a year, you know. I really did, you know. So I mostly picked. I was the one who technically chose to quit, but you know, like, after you quit, you know, and I quit like suddenly just because of the peer pressure of everybody. The two-finger wave when you drive down a country road, the two-finger wave. And so I was like really guided, you know, to like leave FedEx, you know. But when I left, you know, my manager freaked out and he walked me out, but that's just who he is. And then I came back and hung out for like a little bit afterwards, and he didn't walk me out and he didn't even bother me. So like, he was kind of having shock, and I'm just like, I was really upset because like, I was basically their assistant, you know. I was a floor coordinator, you know, on how he handled me, because you know, I was there for so many years. But I went back because I had to like do some like stuff, you know, and I walked in by myself and he didn't stop me or anything, and I did my stuff and then I left. And you know, and then we talked afterwards, you know. We talked, I think he called me up or I called him up or something, and we talked, and he's like, I hope you figure it out with FedEx, you know. And I thought that would be the end, and it was not the end. The harassment went on. And yeah, so because like, I did my stuff, I quit, you know. And then that night, you know, I'm just like, maybe I'm making a bad choice, you know. And I'm just like, in my mind, it's like, FedEx is not gonna be the way it's not gonna be it's what I want it to be, you know. It's going to ground, you know. I don't want to work for ground, you know. But I'm just like, you know, I'm human, you know. Even if you're not human, you know, if you can think, you know, it is what it is, you know. And I'm just like, maybe I'm making a mistake. Maybe I should just wait a little bit longer, you know, because that's their mindset is, we'll just wait it out, you know. I'm just like, and then yeah, so it was like kind of a big deal when I was like dealing with stuff, but like after I calmed down and stuff, you know, like a month later and stuff, we talked on the telephone, and he's like, I hope you figure it out with FedEx, you know, because I think we both knew I was not going back, you know. And so when that phone call ended, I didn't think I would ever talk to him ever again, you know, because he was not my friend. He was just my boss. I was basically their assistant, you know. Honestly, I felt like a slave most of the time because with the new hires, they didn't want to do their job. And so, but, you know, I don't need to go into detail on why I decided to quit, you know. But the noise afterwards, it was just, and yeah, so, but, you know, that was quite a few years ago, you know, and time has moved on and stuff like that, but they did get fired in like, I think 2024. They did seriously get fired, but they did not understand what being fired means. You stop showing up, or you stop trying to run that place. And even they didn't even like run the place. They always yelled at me through the telepathic thing, and I'm just like, no. And then they were like, we're gonna learn about Payless societies, and I'm just like, you don't work there. Technically, you're volunteering. And if you don't like it, then don't do it. And technically, you really did get fired because I did hear upper management. They turned on the phone of hearing them, and I did hear them technically get fired. You know, I wasn't there in person. I didn't see them. It's different, you know. Sometimes I feel a little bit crazy because sometimes like that's why I like talking to people. This is why I like to actually have a conversation with somebody after the fact, just because like people do hear different things. They really, really do. You know, so all the managers there seriously got fired. And I think technically the station did close down because they turned off the power. But I did quit that place. I've quit most of my places. Mostly I'm pushed into it, but I do typically quit. But yeah.